Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam from the second canto, chapter 10, entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, text 25. Gatim jigasata pado ruruhate bikamikam padbyam yagya swayam havyam karma vikriyate nribe gatim jigasata pado ruruhate bikamikam padbyam yagya swayam havyam karma vikriyate nrive gatim jigasata pado ruruhate bikamikam padbyam yagya swayam havyam karma vikriyate nrive. It's in the back, my bottle. Ladies.
Gatim jigasutta padam ruruhate bikamikam padyam jignashat svayam bhavyam karma vikriyate nidhi.
Gatim, movement. Jigisita, so desiring. Pado, the legs. Ruruhate, being manifested. Abhikamikam, purposeful. Padyabhyam, it's Padbyam, from the legs. Yagya, Lord Vishnu. Swayam, personally himself. Havyam, the duties. Karmabhi, by one's occupational duty. Kriyate, cause to be done. Nirbi, by different human beings. Translations. Thereupon, because of his desiring to control movement, his legs became manifest, and from the legs the controlling deity named Vishnu was generated. By his personal supervision of this act, all varieties of human beings are busily engaged in dutiful occupational sacrifice. Purport. Every human being is engaged in his particular occupational duty, and such activities are visible as men go hither and thither. This is very prominently visible in big cities of the world. People are going all over the cities with great concern from one place to another. This movement is not limited only to the cities, but is also visible outside the cities from one place to another, or from one city to another, by different means of vehicles. Men are moving by cars and rails on the roads, by subways within the earth, and by planes in the sky for the purpose of business success. But in all these movements, the real purpose is to earn wealth for comfortable life. For this comfortable life, the scientist is engaged, the artist is engaged, the engineer is engaged, the technician is engaged, all in different branches of human activity. But they do not know how to make the activities purposeful to fulfill the mission of human life. Because they do not know this secret, all their activities are targeted towards the goal of sense gratification without control, and therefore, by all this business, they're unknowingly entering into the deep regions of darkness, because they've been captivated by the external energy of the Supreme Lord. They've completely forgotten the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. And thus, they've taken it for granted that this life, as presently manifested under the conditions of material nature, is all in all for enjoyment in the highest amount of sense gratification. By such a wrong conception of life, but such a wrong conception of life cannot give anyone the desired peace of mind. And thus, in spite of all advancement in knowledge, by use of the resources of nature, no one is happy in this materialist civilization. The secret is that at every step they should try to execute sacrifices towards the path of world peace. The Bhagavad Gita, 18:45-46, also advises the same secret in the following verses. Sve sve karmani abhirata samsiddhim labate naraha svakarmani rata siddhim yata vindati tatshinu yata pravritir bhuttanam yena sarvam idam tatam svakarmana tam abhyartsya siddhim vindati manavaha. The Lord said to Arjuna, just hear from me how one can attain the highest perfection in life simply by discharging his specified occupational duty. Man can attain the highest perfection of life by worshipping the Supreme Lord and by performing sacrifice for the sake of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is all-pervading and by whose control every living being acquires his desired facilities according to his personal propensity. There's no harm in having different propensities in life, because every human being is proportionally independent to chalk out the plan of his life by different occupations. But one should make it a point in his life to know perfectly well that he is not independent absolutely. One is certainly under the control of the Supreme Lord and under different agencies. Knowing this, one should make it a point that by his work and the result of his labor, he serves the Supreme Lord as prescribed by the authorities expert in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. For performing such occupational duties of life, the leg is the most important instrument of the body, because without help of the legs, one cannot move from one place to another. And therefore the Lord has special control over the legs of all human beings, which are meant for performing yagyas. Was a long purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyanandana Salakya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sivisakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopi Kakanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneswari Visavana Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhya Chakripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. On one morning walk, Prabhupada saw a children's playground, and there was a sign and it said, Children's Fairyland. And Prabhupada looked at it, then turned around, pointed with his cane to the city and pointed out, Adults Fairyland or Playground. That is a fact, that everything in the world is an arrangement, a playground for playboys and playgirls, and just live a life to somehow or other enjoy the senses. Oh, senses, so sweet, so sweet, so sweet. But of course, time is moving fast, and time takes everything away. So that is the first problem in sense gratification, time. Then the second problem in sense gratification, it's not happening. Right? It's just not happening. We're trying to make it happen so bad, and it's not happening. It's just not happening as it's supposed to be happening. Not like that. That's we try this way, that way, and it's still not successful. And now what? So then comes in frustration. In this way, material life, it is said the happiness we experience in sense gratification is like a drop in the desert, and even when we get it, it's never enough. It's never enough to satisfy our need. Therefore, the trick is there is enjoyment in the world. There is some sense of happiness in the world, right? And there are moments, oh, so happy, yes, but no fulfillment. No fulfillment, no condition in the heart where actually whatever has happened to us is now enough. This is all I really want. This is all I ever wanted. Now I have it, and this is it. Finished. Now, after a little while, it's like, Is there anything else? And this carries on and then carries on and carries on. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the austerities of the mind is described to be satisfied. So it's interesting because it doesn't seem to be so austere to be satisfied. It seems to be more austere to be not satisfied. But it basically means to be satisfied when everything is right. Now we have come to devotional service. It took a long time, but here we are. Bhaunam jamanamante jnanavam prapadinte vasudeva savamiti samahatma sadurlabha. After so many births, and finally we are here. Krishna is the goal of life. Great. And now the austerity is to be satisfied with it, with the life of a devotee. That's the difficulty. Because we are not yet serving Krishna out of pure love. We are serving Krishna on the basis of transcendental knowledge. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gnanana Salakya Sakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The spiritual master has opened our darkened eyes, and as a result, we are seeing what is the goal of life. But we haven't fully realized that. So we are not yet fully situated in devotional in pure devotional love for Krishna. That is the difficulty. Yes, we are in this material world. And in this material world, we have many things we like. We grow up like that. Here, sense gratification is condemned. Right? But the problem is we grew up with sense gratification. And by the time we read this, we are thoroughly addicted to sense gratification. It's like so many things. It's like, and then, how can we give it up? Can we give it up? Really? Very difficult. Very difficult to give up sense gratification. Therefore, trying to renounce sense enjoyment is a difficult thing. Therefore, it is advised to become very busy in devotional service, to become so busy in devotional service that there's just no time for sense gratification. It's easier to have no time for sense gratification than to be in a nice situation of the mode of goodness and to say no to sense gratification. Because we're not in pure goodness. We situate ourselves in goodness. We learn all the Brahminical principles. We take bath 3 times a day. We are rising early. We do all these things. But the material desires are not going away. They're still there. Therefore, the best thing is to simply be too busy for them. Yes. Then they can be there, but there's just no time. It's interesting because I experienced it like that. I was somehow or other, I joined in Vrindavan, and then I became super busy from day one, basically. Well, day one was sort of easy. They asked me to help out in the restaurant. But on day 2, the manager of the restaurant, for some reason, embraced the lady in the kitchen, and then, who was not his wife, and then he ran away, and then I was the manager of the restaurant. and before I knew it, I was running around all day, like in restaurants. My God, it never ends, right? I don't know if some of you are involved in restaurants, but a restaurant, you have to buy the boga. You have to cook it. You have to get the restaurant ready for the guests. Then the guests are coming, serve the guests, this, that. Then it's a total mess. You have to clean it up, clean the kitchen, clean the restaurant, everything else. And when it's finally done, okay, maybe you have to start making the sweets already for the next day and store those. And then when that's done, well, then there's more purchasing to do for the next day again. It just never ends restaurant. It was extreme, very, very busy. And that in India. And it wasn't so easy in India, India's India, right? I had different problems. One problem was I had a chapati cook who was not speaking any English. And I didn't speak any Indian language at the time, so it was difficult. So I ordered chapatis in the kitchen. And he went cooking like a machine, making chapatis. And all the people left, and he kept on rolling chapatis. So I go, no chapatis. No. Keep on rolling. No. Just more and more chapatis. I say, what's going on? It's got the spirit went, the spirit went into his head. So he cooked. So I grabbed him by his arm. Then he lifted the tawa, that's the hot plate with the handle. He lifted it and threatened me with it, and screamed, and said I had beaten him. Well. Many people came, and it was a whole drama. Anyway, I was forced to be sweet and to apologize. For 2 weeks I was sweet, and then I fired him. With great satisfaction. Then I got a new chapati cook, and this one was an American devotee and a senior disciple of Prabhupada, and he always was sick. So, and then he was resting somewhere. I found him in the storeroom lying on the bags of grain, I knew that was his favorite spot, so I'd go in there, drag him out, and say, chapatis. So one day, 25 people come in the restaurant, and that meant 4 chapatis each. That was 100 chapatis. I called down to the kitchen, 100 chapatis, right? And the chapatis never came. The people got angry, and they were banging with their plates on the table. They wanted chapatis, It's like, oh. So I called down chapatis. Then I called down, where are the chapatis? Finally, the chapati cook flew out of the door, stood in front of me, and on the top of his finger, he made the face of a joker, held it under my nose and said, no chapatis, because the cook has quit. I'm not one who's easily lost for words, but on this occasion I didn't know what to say. So in the midst of all that service, right, there was no time. There was no time to think of anything, sense gratification. I had to have chapatis. Then they sent me a new helper. This one was a Vietnam veteran. And he tells me that he killed people. And he tells me that his specialty was with a razor blade, zipping people open. I go, and it's like, And then the next day he comes back and he says, does it also happen to you sometimes that it is stronger than you? I said, never. Never. Doesn't happen. No. Never. And then we're in the middle of the service, full restaurant, and he goes, give me a knife, give me a knife. I said, we have no knives in this restaurant. He spooked me out. Oh, gosh. I mean, devotional service is not exactly according to the book, You're reading the handbook of devotional service, and it's Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, like that. God, I got a guy with a knife, right? Oh, yeah. So anyway, but it was very absorbing, I must say. All that service was very absorbing. When I was doing it, I was thinking, I have no time. I have no time for hearing and chanting. And then there was some occasion, some festival, and all the devotees were sitting at the feet of the gurus listening to the katha, and I was in the kitchen making sure that everything was going on and so on. And God, I was never there, the parikrama. Yeah, the only time I went to parikramas was to deliver prasadam, take the van and drop off the prasadam, right? I had no time for parikrama or for all these things. Never time, and sometimes I lamented, poor me, poor me. I never have time for all these things, and I'm really missing out, right? But what I missed out on was sense gratification. No? The only shelter of the senses was stealing Mahaprasadam, because there was a big cabinet with a marble top on it, and you could lift it up and take it off. And all the Maha was in there. We did some commando actions. But that was transcendental. That was prasadam. And you got purified anyway by doing that. So in this way, there is just practical devotional service, which is very important. It's one of the problems maybe that exist in the modern day ISKCON, because the modern day ISKCON is a congregational movement, and everyone, there's a handful of people in the temples, and for the rest, everyone's at home working a job, and everyone is sort of, and devotional service, yeah, it's sometimes in between a little bit. Right? But it's not that old school, just like, from morning to night, it's like, my service was to put the deities to rest and to wake them up at the same time. So that's tough, because that means short night, right? Short night. And they eventually kicked me out of the Pujari department because I fell asleep in the last arti. Because I was cooking many offerings throughout the day. I was waking the deities, putting the deities to rest, doing offerings and everything in the middle of the day. I was busy. I cooked 3 offerings, plus the milk sweets and everything. And that's normal, and you had to clean your own kitchen. That was normal, it's like, then I had a kitchen and the drain, there was no drain under the sink. There's no drain, there was a plastic drum. And it would just fill up with water, and when it was full, you had to call someone, and then 2 guys had to carry it, right, to the other side, and lift it and put it in the drain. Insanity. Kitchen was on the 1st floor, we had to carry all the boga upstairs. You go like, on your back, 80 kilos of potatoes up the stairs. But it was good, because all that hard work helped us to overcome the pushings of the senses. The pushings of the senses are very, very strong. Are we just going to do it with philosophy? Sense gratification is Maya. I agree. It is. Can I have some? Right? Please. Right now. It's very difficult to just by a philosophical adjustment to control the senses. There is the famous lecture where Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this chanting of the holy name comes directly from the transcendental stratum and not from the intellectual or mental or sensual platform. And that is a fact. There is the transcendental platform, the intellectual platform, the mental platform, the sensual platform. And where is our energy? If you like palmistry, this is represented in the fingers. And in the fingers, you can see the lower part of the fingers is the sensual platform. The middle part of the fingers, the mental platform, and the top part of the fingers, the intellectual platform. Where is the red? That's where it's happening. And if it's all red, then you're totally agitated. Or you've been sitting on your hands. Okay, whatever may be. Yeah, you can have a good look. But this gets very interesting. Yeah. Anyhow, the point is, there is, if we are still affected by the sensual platform, then if we're still affected by the mental platform, if we're still affected by the intellectual platform, then we have to engage all these. We have to engage our senses in the sensual activity, right? On the sensual platform. We have to work with our senses. Otherwise, it's not enough, right? So we can dress up like a brahmana and fold our dhotis in in South Indian styles with triple skirts and ruffles and a knot on the side. We can do all these things, right? There are many varieties. You can wear saris in Gujarati style, in Bengali style. I've been a grihastha, I know about these things. So all these things are possible, but that's not enough, right? That doesn't make us free from material desires. Just like in the Pajavali, Srila Rupa Goswami is quoting a verse and basically saying, not by studying the Vedas, not by performing sacrifice, not by he said the only way we can conquer lust. Or not by brahmacharya. Yes, it was. Not by brahmacharya. The only way we can conquer lust is by engaging in devotional service. That's it. Working hard in devotional service. That is the solution. We see that Srila Prabhupada made his movement a very practical movement. A movement where there was a lot of practical engagement. A lot. Then, of course, there's the mind. My mind. Like my mind. It's like, so the mind also needs to be engaged. That means that's why we have to hear. Plenty of hearing, so that we plant some transcendental knowledge in the mind. Because if we regularly hear transcendental knowledge, then that transcendental knowledge will also echo in our mind. It will be with us from time to time. We'll remember it. Therefore, regular hearing is very important. It helps immediately to subdue the mind, which otherwise is very difficult to control. And the intellect, yes. So, some people, they really need to crunch, some complicated intellectual problem, right? Like cracking nuts. And that's necessary, right? That must also be there. So there is intricate philosophy, and we can study it systematically. So it depends a little bit where the energy is. But whatever may be, we need to be fully engaged, very much engaged in devotional service. And when we are not peaceful, and when we are still struggling with sense gratification, it basically means we're under-engaged. We're under-engaged in devotional service. That's basically the point. It's like, I have so much problem with material desire. Need more engagement in service. No, but I can't do more service. I'm already exhausted. I'm doing so much, so I'm doing too much service. Really. And that makes me so tired that I have no energy left for spiritual life. Yeah? And therefore I have material desires. Yeah, but there's gross service, lifting of boxes and moving stuff around, and there's more refined service. Right? Something that engages our intellect. It's less tiring. It's also tiring, but not as tiring as gross physical work. So we did a combination of everything. But to be always engaged, that is devotional service, ahaitiki apatiyata, uninterrupted, unmotivated. In bhava, avyarta kalatvam, not to waste a moment, every moment, always service, doing some service. Not from, I did 20 minutes of service, 20 minutes, 20 minutes of service, and now I deserve a piece of cake. Yeah, logical, right? And so each time we do some service, then we need a cake break, then we need or something else. Yes, a little sense enjoyment. Something. And I've seen every Krishna conscious video on the planet, and there's just nothing left. I know them all. What can I do? Sometimes I go a little bit on YouTube. Just a bit. Stretch the envelope, as they say. Just stretch the limit a little bit. And then a little sense gratification. Nothing happens. Nothing. I have an example of a fish. Have you had a good look at a fish? A fish have very big eyes. Have you noticed that? If you look, the eye of a fish in comparison to the size of the body is enormous. If we would have an eye like a fish, we'd have a big eye on the side of our head like that, way down your cheek, from your forehead to your cheek. Right? So they have huge eyes. So fish can see very well. It's about seeing. There's a lot about seeing. And there it is. This delicious fat worm. Ooh, it's a good one. The fish immediately spotted it. It knows it's worms. This worm is a good worm. But the fish also sees that the worm is on a terrible hook. A monster of a hook, yes. And you think this fish is so stupid it's gonna bite the hook? No. What the fish is doing, the fish is nibbling a little bit on the worm, not biting, a little bit nibble on the side. And in this way, it eats the worm, but it doesn't get caught on the hook. Now, this is the way to engage in sense gratification. Nibble on a little bit of Maya. Not all the way, just a little, not too far. A little. Not that you get caught on the hook, but just a little. Of course, Maya, who is expert at fishing, is watching the floater, right? That's above the water, and it's moving, and it knows the fish is nibbling. And next moment, Maya makes a movement with the wrist, and suddenly the hook shoots forward, and the nibbling fish is dangling on the hook. So, to underbuild this example with scripture, in the Prema Vivarta, Srila Jagadananda Pandit is saying, Krishna Bahir Mukhahaya, Bhogavan Shakara, Nikitastamaya tara japati haya, which means that if you are flirting with the external energy, then Maya is nearby. And you will not fall down. Maya will slap you down. She will slap you down. That's what Jagadananda Pandit says. Slap you down. So if we get too close to the edge, Maya will give us a slap and knock us right over the edge. Very interesting. Yeah. So if we think, well, controlled sense gratification, can't be fanatic. Come on, can't be fanatic. Relax. Just be human. Be you. You be you. Right. Yeah. Natural yourself. You can't artificially renounce. It will come back later. Yes. You thought about it. Yes. So this is but this is not going to work. We go from one thing to the next. We'll go from one thing to the next, even if we are expert at controlled sense gratification, say. Even if we are the fish that really knows how to nibble, right? Even if we do. The thing is, one day you'll just be no longer satisfied with nibbling alone, right? This nibbling, it just doesn't do the job, man. I want to win, right? Yes, that is the thing. So it's the desire that will just take over. It is the desire will get stronger and stronger. And then you might have what they call in psychology, in good German, a Schattendurchbruch, which means a shadow breakthrough. And a Schattendurchbruch is an interesting thing. It is that in the front, we always kept a good facade. Govindam Adipurusam, I have super glue on my hands. Yes, Haribol. Super glue on my hands, yes. So, on the front, there always was a good Krishna conscious profile. But behind it, the material desires were bubbling and boiling and just like steam was there and it was really going on, right? Then one day, a Schattendurchbruch, a shadow breakthrough could happen that suddenly it takes over. And suddenly your hand is doing something that it should not have done. It took over. A shadow breakthrough. Right? You can fill in the blanks yourself. The varieties of things that could happen. So this is how it is. So one has to, it's not good enough to externally dress up in a, in like a nice Vaishnava. But that's good, you buy those Tulsi neck beads from Radha Kund, with the leaves on it, and it's got like Jaya Radhe carved on it, them? Cool, like big ones. Or you get one of those like Ayendra big rough tulsis, like it's like half a tree hangs around your neck. I mean, good stuff, really good stuff. Yes, all these things we can have, kavacha, You know, Kavacha. Yes. Kavacha here, Kavacha there. Right. By the end, you're finished, you're a Christmas tree. But it's not enough to be a Christmas tree. Right? No. We still have to, as they say, it's not enough. We can go into the garage, but it doesn't make us a car. Yeah? You cannot just do the external. Right? It has to go internal. You have to internally do it. So what do we have to do? Do we have to adjust our feelings? Okay, turn up your love. I can't find my love button. Where is it? Which one is it? Try this one. Is this the love? No, this was envy. Okay, I got lust button works fine. Yes. So or other, the love button is not working. It's like, can someone fix the love button, please? Guru Maharaj. That's a big problem. It's going to be a major repair. Now, what to do about that? So we cannot just, it's the feeling we cannot dictate. That comes on its own. But our activities and our association, that we can control. Just like in the Bhagavatam, it says, Srila Prabhupada explains, if you want to be in the mode of goodness, then don't try to be in the mode of goodness, associate with goodness. I liked that, because I tried to be in the mode of goodness, and my goodness, it didn't work, right? You know, oh my goodness. I was in Mayapur, Janani was, our great pure pujari starts to explain that to be in the mode of goodness is not possible in one life. It takes many, many lives. He said, we are just not in the mode of goodness. And I thought, if he's not in the mode of goodness, then what about me in the mode of goodness? I'm not as much in the mode of goodness as he's in the mode of goodness, that's for sure. That's not my thing, the mode of goodness, actually. But associating with the mode of goodness, that helps. So loving Krishna, that's such a big thing, right? But doing a lot of service for Krishna, okay, that's practical. That I can do. Right? That's in my range. I can decide, all right, I'll do that. I can. And so that's the key, really. The key. In the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, Gopya Kamat Bhayat Kamsas Dvesas Chedanaya Ripa Vrishnya Sambandhat Yuyam Bhaktivayan Vibhu. It is describing that the gopis, by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, the Vrishnis by their family relationship, the kings by their envy, and we, the regular devotees, by hard work in devotional service, can attain perfection. So this is truly the key. And we can see why only 16 rounds. Because we were not on the transcendental platform, on the sensual platform. I've seen Bhakta Bill in the bathroom, tattoos, you know what I mean? Cleaning the bathroom, listening on a tape to the 25 qualities of Srimati Radharani. And I was thinking, Bhakta Bill, in Vrindavan, I was thinking, Bhakta Bill should be hearing, I'm not the body, right? He really should not. It's not going to work for him to just jump to the 25 qualities of Radharani and the pure love, because he's not there. He needs to scrub the floor. He needs to carry the garbage out, right? He needs to cut tons of vegetables, right? He needs to peel bags and bags of potatoes. That the saving grace. Potatoes. Peeling potatoes. Till your hands are black. Grooves in your hands. That's it, or making garlands, endless garlands, right? It's like, it's really in service. Service is the key. Practical service. Because that's where we engage. Risikena risikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate. The senses in the service of the Lord. I'll stop now. Any comments? Any questions? Yes.
Yes. You said the only way to defeat our lust is to make devotional service. But we must know what is devotional service. Of your example in beginning, you work very, very hard. But when we understand better philosophy, when we read the book and chant the mantra, we have know what is my own devotional service. And this is my recapitulation of your lecture, I think so.
Yeah, of course. I spoke about the ninefold processes of devotional service, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, and so. So it's there, the hearing is there, the Bhagavad hearing is there. And then it depends how old we are. Like you and me, I don't know how old you are, but we are not 20, that's for sure. That I know, I know you're not 20. And so, it's like, last night, Harinam. This morning, Swami is a little crooked, Swami's back is a little bit sore. Swami's knee is not what it was yesterday. Swami's voice is getting a little bit croaky, like a frog. And Swami is beginning to think, I don't think I'm going to engage the senses so much in devotional service today. I'll keep it more a little on the intellectual platform, I think. That's maybe more.
Only intellectual, still only intellectual, yes.
Yeah, I'll read, and of course we hope the heart also wakes up and that some love for Krishna develops. Yeah. But as I say, the culture of the Krishna conscious movement has changed from a temple-based movement to a congregational movement. Therefore, those days of just doing all that service, not everyone goes through that anymore. But that's quite powerful, actually. That's maybe where somehow or other I went there. I was in a lecture. Then I took a turn to the left, and I got stuck in that street in my lecture. I never got out again. I stayed there. I got stuck in the service street. But now we come out. You took us to Bhagavatam lane. So now we go to the Bhagavatam lane. Bhagavatam square. Anyone else? Yes.
So you were speaking about engaging ourselves in devotional service. And once you told me you should not preach to people, you should engage people. So
it's a little. I said we preach to people, but it may not always work. So then we engage people. Yeah.
So I have a question which is maybe more relevant for me as devotee temple resident right now. We all want that temples are full, and can you maybe say something in this part, like engaging others, so that they feel welcome in the temple? Because as temple resident, I feel also that it's my responsibility if people are coming or.
Well, you're doing in Golokadam there that volunteer program, right? That's your big inspiration, and you're doing it well. People like it, and that's great. We see, that the program to have volunteers who do some work in the garden, they like that. The back to nature people especially, they like that. And it's great, because in a natural way they come to Krishna consciousness. They get the philosophy, but not all at once, Whereas in the old days, someone would come in the temple. When I started going to a Hare Krishna temple, the temple was full. And there were like 100 devotees on the Sunday feast waiting to preach. Right? So as soon as you sat down, a devotee would sit opposite of you. And when your mouth was full, then that devotee would just go And actually, this world is all Maya, and really, devotional service is the only way. You realize that, So you should chant Hare Krishna and follow the 4 regulative principles, and basically, you should just give up your life and move in the temple, right? And what are you waiting for? And meanwhile, you're munching on a pakora, and it's good, but this devotee is chewing your ear, right? And they threw and then they tried to put the whole philosophy all at once, everything, in one meeting. Give you the whole everything. Full Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, everything. That's not necessary. Little philosophy, some engagement, then again little philosophy. Oh, you like kirtan? Yes, let's have kirtan, And yes, engage them.
Devotees, like how to make the devotees feel welcome in the temple, and
how to make
residents of the temple should provide this somehow.
How to make them feel welcome? Well, I guess, I guess we have to be like Jayananda. Jayananda was the person who would just always care for people. He was just always go out of his way to facilitate other people, to please other people. He would make sure any guest would get some prasadam. He would make sure everyone paid attention to everyone. He made sure every devotee got what they needed. He would wake up the new bhaktas in the middle of the night and put a gulab jamun in their mouth and said, swallow. But he really went out of his way. I think that it takes, like Prabhupada said, it takes blood, sweat and tears. It takes a lot of hard work to make a devotee, to keep a devotee, to inspire devotees. You have to try. You have to have fun festivals, fun kirtans. You have to have fun. Krishna consciousness has to be fun. That's what we want it to be. Not dry. And this Sunday, you can do the arti. Yes? You are rostered. Okay, thank you. It has to be a little more exciting. To involve people, it has to be juicy. Yes.
You spoke about approaching lust by engaging in devotion, more devotional service, but lust is in the heart, and you can do be so much engaged and still be like mityachara. So
Krishna takes it away. Sarvadharma parijayam mamikam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha isyami masuchaha. I take it away, Krishna says. So in the end, it may take some time, but Krishna takes it away. And at least a portion is already gone. Most of us are following the 4 regulative principles. That's already something. And we didn't do that before. So it's a big step up. And those who don't follow four regulative principles perfectly, they're still trying. So the lust is diminishing gradually.
And we had an argument here in the temple.
Uh-oh.
So I thought if Prabhupada ever said that sense gratification is like salt, that we shouldn't put too much but not too little. Is it true?
I don't know about salt. I mean, in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there is something about the horse and the reins. And it said, if you pull the reins of the horse always tight, very tight, and you never let that horse run, that's not going to work. Sometimes you have to let the reins a little loose and let the horse run. Yeah. But so there is Krishna conscious ways to enjoy the senses. Prasadam, for example. And it's in the Hare Krishnas, they are famous for being able to eat 5 times more than normal people. Yeah? It's like, it's amazing what a Hare Krishna can pack in terms of prasadam. Again, there are different ashrams. Those who want some more sense gratification, all right, Grihastha ashram. But there you also have to be careful. If you take it too far, you go over the edge. Nikita Maya. Jagadananda Pandit says, Maya will slap you down. Then you may just have to stay in the material world. So let's get out of here. It's no fun, the material world. Yes, you had a question.
Yesterday and today we heard a little bit about your engagement in Vrindavan and management service. But I heard from the second hand, and I like hear from first hand, if it's not too much personal. I heard that some mafia shoot you there by gun.
Oh, yeah.
Still alive. Too much alive in Kirtan and
Yeah, it's a long time ago. 24th January 1995 at 8:45 at night, I went to the bathroom and it was winter, I was inside and suddenly, and the wall of the toilet didn't go up to the top. And just then, someone at such a time shot me over the wall in my back. And that was no fun. It was intense. It was, I have no idea who did it. Some people will say it's mafia. Some have even made a beautiful simulation on the internet and posted it there. It's out there. You see Kadamba Swami behind him. You see this Gunda looking like straight from Johnny Depp. There was no signature on the bullet. No one was ever caught. Suspicions are there, obviously. Some astrologers read the tea leaves and came up with some suggestions as to who did it, but there ain't no proof. So here we are. I kept low key for 7 years after that, and let the situation cool down. I had to leave Vrindavan for some time, which I did. And I wound up with $100 in my pocket in Amsterdam. Tiny little temple, like 120 square meters it was. That was it, a mini temple. I come from this huge international project, like in a mini temple. And when I suggested that we would do something, then the devotees felt, he's creating too much pressure. And I couldn't even go into first gear yet, because I was sick, so I could hardly do anything. But that was already too much. So I felt like a tiger in a cage. I left there. after some time, went to South Africa, which is a bigger yatra. There was more to do for me, more challenges, plus more Ayurvedic treatment. Took me 1.5 years to get into full shape, right? 6 months of daily Ayurvedic treatment, and by then I was ready. And in 1997, I became the Flying Dutchman. I started to travel. I all over the world, took sannyas and lived happily ever after. Yeah, one day maybe I'll write a book, if ever I get to it, called All in One Shot. Yeah, All in One Shot. I think I can claim that title because there's so many things I learned from that experience. There's the story, but there's also the internal experience, what you go through, what goes through your head, what you have to digest, the trauma, so many things that are there, the soul searching, all that. If I get to write it, I'll give you a copy, all in one shot. Yes, sir.
Just one thing about one of the previous questions. I think it needs to be clarified.
Someone is making noise with plates and you speak soft and you're far away.
Just one question about one of the previous questions, actually clarification of the question. The question was not whether or not Prabhupada said that sense gratification is like salt.
Ouch.
One person said that Prabhupada made a statement that sex is like salt.
Okay.
It should not be taken too much and it should not be taken too little.
I don't know if Prabhupada made the statement. I have no idea. Did you find any evidence for the statement?
So far, no.
Okay. I didn't hear about that statement, but yeah, it's fine, I mean, philosophically, we have no problem with it. Should it be too much and not too what did you say? Not too much, not too little? So like salt. Yeah, well, so the best thing about sex is to make it zero. Right? That's the best. But if you can't do that, then you can have some, right? But not too much. But zero is not too little. If we just forget about sex, that's the best. It's really the best. Because it takes so much time, all the arrangements that are connected to it, it takes so much time and energy. And then when we actually see, it's no big deal whether you are a grihastha or a brahmachari. You're a brahmachari now, well, let me tell you, it's not important. Right? You're all in saffron, great for you, but it's not going to take you back to Godhead. Right? It's not necessarily going to put in a lot of weight in the scale in terms of making it to the spiritual world. It's just part of Varnashram. And Varnashram is a support structure, a crutch. If you cannot walk properly, then you lean on a crutch. So we lean on Varnashram. But of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Naham Vipra Nachanara Patirna Pivaishana Sudra, and so on. We are not part of Varnashram. We're meant to be transcendental. So, sannyasi, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, it's all not important, actually. What's really important is to serve Krishna. So, kamasmi bharatar sabha, sex life according to religious principles is no obstacle. It's not an obstacle. One can engage in sex life according to religious principles and go back to Godhead. The difficulty, though, sex according to religious principle only once a month at an appropriate time. Now, if I give you 30 rasgullas and you can eat only one, that's tough. But only one. Because once you've taken one, you want another one. That's the problem. Therefore, it's much, for some people say, better no rasgulas at all. If I can have only one rasgula, then better no rasgulas. Right? Because my tongue wants rasgula every day. So yeah, Prabhupada said to Hayagriva said, sex only once a month. I said, Hayagriva said, then why bother? And Prabhupada said, that's right. That he did say. Yeah. So, put it all in perspective. Sex is not a problem. It's okay within Kamusmi Bharatarsabha. It's fine. But, as I said, it takes time and energy, quite a bit. And it's difficult to stay within the boundaries. One may get married because one has material desire, but it doesn't mean that marriage will solve the material desires. You'll still have you'll be married and have material desires. Now, if you're not married and have material desires, then you marry with the idea now that will solve my material desires, but then you're married and have material desires. The solution to overcoming material desires is Krishna consciousness in any ashram. So, yesterday, Govindananda asked a question about sex, and we just concluded that the world today is oversexed. Right? The world is oversexed. They make just too much of sex. Sex, this, sex, that, everything sex. And sex is there, and it's part of life, and therefore also part of spiritual life. We're not against it, but in its proper place. For whoever so desires. Me, I'm happy with sannyas. Very, very happy. Let's keep it like that. 0. If you have sex desire, best thing is do nothing. It's simple. Just do nothing. But if you can't do nothing, all right, then do something Krishna conscious. No. I am the salt of the earth. Anyway. But the Grihastha ashram is a good position to be in if we cannot just give up all these things, and then gradually one can engage in service and become transcendental. But it's not enough to just engage in sexuality according to religious principle. One also needs the service as a grihastha to be purified. So back to the theme of the day. It's the service. And without hearing, how can you continue to do service? Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki jai.